A man in a hand-me-down Honda Civic pulls into a parking lot next to a Bentley. He steps out in a faded polo shirt, walks into the same building, sits in the same boardroom. 20 minutes later, you find out he's worth $11 million. dollars. The guy in the Bentley, 40,000 in credit card debt. Nobody in that room could have guessed it by looking, not even close. That's the first thing rich people understand that almost nobody else does. Wealth doesn't look like anything at all. It just quietly compounds while everyone else is busy performing it for an audience that isn't paying attention anyway. By the end of this, you're going to know the 10 decisions that separate people who get rich once from people who stay rich forever. And I promise you, at least two of them are going to make you uncomfortable because they're not about money at all. One of them, in particular, is the reason so many lottery winners go broke within 5 years. And I'll get to that. Another one has almost nothing to do with your bank account and everything to do with your bedtime, which sounds strange right now but will make complete sense later. But first, let's talk about the decision that happens before any of the others even matter. It starts with what rich people refuse to do the moment money shows up. Most people get a raise and upgrade their life to match it. New car, bigger apartment, nicer everything. Psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill. You run faster, but you never actually get anywhere because your expectations keep pace with your income. The wealthy do something almost boring in comparison. They freeze their lifestyle at a fixed point and let the gap between what they earn and what they spend do the heavy lifting. Think about David, an electrician in Ohio who took over his uncle's small contracting business at 26. He didn't buy a truck he couldn't afford or move into a bigger house when the contracts started rolling in. He kept driving the same used pickup for 9 years. People at the hardware store used to joke about it. He's 51 now, debt-free, owns 3 rental properties, and nobody who meets him would ever guess it. That gap, not the income, is the actual engine of wealth. Most people chase a bigger number on their paycheck. The wealthy protect the space underneath it. Here's where it gets interesting, though, because protecting that gap isn't really about discipline. It's about a decision most people never even realize they're making, what they choose to feel important about. Broke mindsets and rich mindsets both feel emotions around money. The difference is which emotions they let drive the car. A man sees a coworker post vacation photos and feels a flash of "I deserve that too," and either books the trip on a credit card that night or he doesn't. The wealthy have simply trained themselves to notice that feeling and let it pass, the same way you'd let a wave hit your ankles instead of chasing it out to sea. This isn't about never spending. It's about never letting a feeling make a financial decision on your behalf. Bill Perkins wrote about this idea in Die with Zero, that money is meant to be converted into life experiences deliberately, not impulsively, and that the healthiest wealthy people are ruthless about the difference between "I want this because it will genuinely add to my life," and "I want this because someone else just got it." One is a decision. The other is a reaction disguised as one. Now here's a decision that sounds backwards until you see it play out. The wealthy are shockingly comfortable looking poor in the short term. Not because they're cheap, because status has stopped being the goal. There's a particular kind of person who drives an unremarkable car specifically so they can walk into a negotiation, a business deal, an investment opportunity, and not need it to go well. Desperation has a smell, and everyone in a room can sense it. The man who needs the deal loses leverage the second he walks in. The man who doesn't need anything holds all of it. This is why so many wealthy people deliberately keep their visible spending lower than their actual net worth allows. It isn't modesty, it's strategy. It buys you options. It buys you the ability to walk away from a bad deal, a bad job, a bad relationship, because your lifestyle was never built to require that thing staying in your life. And that leads into something almost nobody talks about, which is who they let sit at their table, literally and financially. There's a saying that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and it's repeated so often now that people roll their eyes at it. But they roll their eyes because they haven't actually tested it. Try this. Write down your 5 closest friends and their approximate relationship with money. Saver, spender, avoider, planner, denier. Most people are shocked to find their own habits sitting almost exactly in the middle of that list. Wealthy people are ruthless, quietly about this. Not cruel, ruthless. They notice when a friendship is anchored entirely around spending, drinking, or status competition, and they slowly stop showing up for it without ever making a scene. They're not choosing better people. They're choosing an environment where ambition and patience are normal instead of strange. I'll be honest, this is the one people resist the most because it doesn't feel like a financial decision. It feels like a personal betrayal, like you're grading the people you love on a spreadsheet. You're not. Nobody's saying cut off your family or ghost your oldest friend, because he still buys rounds he can't afford. What changes is smaller than that. It's declining the group trip that would wreck your savings for a year. It's not matching the energy when a friend upgrades his lifestyle every time his paycheck moves. Wealthy people simply stop needing everyone around them to approve of their restraint. That single shift, not caring whether your spending impresses the room, quietly removes half the financial pressure most people carry every single day without even naming it. You might be wondering by now what actually changed for the people who go from working a normal job to building real wealth. Because it's rarely a lucky break. It's usually one specific decision that looks small in the moment. And that decision is what to do the first time they make more money than they need to survive. Most people's instinct is to keep the extra money liquid, sitting in a checking account, available, comfortable, safe feeling. The wealthy do something that initially feels wrong. They make that extra money hard to access. They funnel it somewhere with friction. A retirement account, a business reinvestment, an asset that takes effort to sell. Not because access is bad, but because ease of access is the number one killer of long-term wealth. A dollar sitting in checking gets spent within 18 months statistically. A dollar locked behind friction gets to grow. There's a shopkeeper named Prakash who ran a small hardware store for 2 decades. Every year, the first thing he did with profit, before rent, before restocking, before anything, was move a fixed percentage somewhere he couldn't touch without real effort. He called it paying the future version of me first. 20 years later, that store funded 2 more stores and a paid-off house. Nobody handed him anything. He just made access difficult for himself on purpose, before he had the chance to talk himself out of it. Here's the part that flips almost everything you've heard about wealth on its head. You'd think the richest people are the ones taking the biggest risks, swinging for the fences, betting big, chasing the next huge win. It's mostly the opposite. The wealthy are obsessed with not losing money far more than they're obsessed with making it. There's a phrase for this: asymmetric risk. It means they'll take a risk where losing costs them a little and winning changes their life, but they'll almost never take a risk where losing wipes them out, even if the upside sounds incredible. Broke people, statistically, take on more catastrophic risk, not because they're reckless by nature, but because desperation makes big swings feel necessary. The wealthy have already removed desperation from the equation, so they never need the miracle bet. They just need time and consistency, which sounds unglamorous, which is exactly why almost nobody sticks with it long enough to see it work. Picture 2 men, same age, same starting salary. One puts his spare cash into whatever stranger on the internet promises to triple it by next quarter. The other puts a smaller, steady amount into something boring every single month, rain or shine, without checking it obsessively. 10 years pass. The first man has a wild story about the 1 year he almost tripled his money, and a much longer story about the 3 years it took to dig out of the hole that came after. The second man has no story at all, just a number that quietly kept climbing while nobody was watching. Boring, repeated, unglamorous decisions are the entire secret. There was never a secret room the wealthy got invited into. There was just the willingness to keep doing the unexciting thing long after everyone else got bored of waiting. And that brings us to something you probably didn't expect this video to be about: health. Not fitness for the sake of looking good. Wealthy people treat their bodies like an asset on the balance sheet because that's exactly what it is. A man who can't get out of bed can't run a business, can't show up to the meeting, can't think clearly enough to make the decision that matters. Every hour spent sick, exhausted, or foggy is an hour of earning capacity gone. This is why so many self-made wealthy people are almost fanatical about sleep, movement, and stress management long before they're fanatical about spreadsheets. It's not vanity. It's maintenance on the machine that generates everything else. Think about it in raw numbers for a second. A decision maker running on 5 hours of sleep isn't operating at 80% capacity. Researchers who study cognitive performance under sleep deprivation have found reaction time and judgment can degrade to levels comparable with being legally drunk. Now imagine that person negotiating a contract, hiring an employee, or deciding whether to walk away from a bad deal. One foggy decision at the wrong moment can cost more than a decade of careful saving ever built. Wealthy people aren't waking up at 5 in the morning because it's trendy. They're protecting the one asset that every other asset depends on. There's one more decision, and it's the one that quietly undoes everyone who skips it. The decision to keep learning long after they've made it. The moment someone believes they've figured money out is usually the moment they stop paying attention. And that's exactly when they get blindsided. Markets shift, industries collapse overnight, skills that were valuable become irrelevant within a decade. The wealthiest people I've studied treat learning like a subscription they never cancel. Reading, asking people smarter than them, staying humble enough to admit what they don't know. Ego is expensive. It has quietly bankrupted more people than bad investments ever have. Think about the shopkeeper again for a second. Prakash, the one who paid his future self first. He didn't stop at 2 extra stores because he assumed he'd cracked the code. He kept asking younger employees to explain software he didn't understand. He read supplier reports most owners his age never bothered opening. He treated not knowing something as information, not embarrassment. Compare that to the classic story of the lottery winner. Sudden money, zero new knowledge, the same habits and blind spots that existed before the win, just with more zeros attached. Studies on sudden wealth have found a strikingly high share of lottery winners return to their previous financial state within a few years, not because the money vanished on its own, but because the decisions generating and protecting it never actually changed. Money doesn't fix decision-making. It just reveals it faster, at a bigger scale, with less room to recover from a mistake. So here's the twist, and it's the part that changes how you should think about everything I just told you. None of these 10 decisions are about intelligence. They're not about luck, timing, or some secret information the rich have and you don't. Every single one of them is available to you today, for free, starting with your next paycheck. The gap between broke and wealthy was never a knowledge gap, it's a decision gap. It's choosing the boring thing over the exciting thing over and over for long enough that it stops looking boring and starts looking like freedom. Picture yourself 5 years from now, having made these decisions quietly, consistently, while nobody was watching. But there's a version of your life on the other side of these choices that looks nothing like the one you're living now. And it starts exactly where you are, not somewhere better. Think back to David in that pickup truck outside the hardware store, or Prakash writing that same fixed percentage into his ledger year after year with nobody watching, no camera, no audience, no proof it would ever amount to anything. That's the part nobody shows you in the highlight reel of wealth. The years where it looks like absolutely nothing is happening. Where the balance barely moves, the truck still has the same dent, the vacation photos are still someone else's. That stretch is not the boring part before the real story starts. That stretch is the whole story. Every rich person who stayed rich walked through a version of those quiet years and simply didn't quit inside them. If this video added value to your day, like it, share it with your loved ones who need this, and subscribe for more insights. I'll see you in the next one.